right, YouTube, what's going on? Dad, say what's up.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Father-Son Fantasy Football.
So we just got done recording a great episode, one of our favorites so far, about injuries and how people are going to come back from injuries, but we couldn't do that by ourselves, so we are joined today by the one and only Matthew Betz. What's up, Matthew?
Welcome, Matthew.
What's up, guys? Thanks a lot for having me on. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, so Matthew, tell him why you know so much about injuries and what you do.
Yeah, so I'm a licensed physical therapist. I'm a board certified orthopedic specialist. So I treat a wide variety of sports and orthopedic injuries, primarily focusing on like college age and high school age athletes. But I use kind of my knowledge of rehab and what I do with injuries and kind of connect it to my love of fantasy and combine the two into what I think is a pretty good resource for most people to provide that medical perspective that most people don't really have.
Yeah, they really knowledgeable. We learned a lot about injuries today and outlooks for players and chances of re-injury. So if you want to find out about all these guys who didn't get injured, check the description below and click on whatever device you have, what's compatible, or just search for us, Father Son Fantasy Football, in your podcast app, and you'll find us. Download that, give it a listen. You guys will, I guarantee you, will learn a lot. But here on YouTube, we want to know who is the one guy Matthew is targeting in drafts and does not want to miss out for. So that Matthew, the floor is yours. Take it away.
Yeah, for sure. So this might be a pick that sounds boring and sounds kind of gross, to be honest with you. As far as a draft guy that I'm hoping to get on all my rosters, and that's Larry Fitzgerald. I mean, I'm not buying into the fall off coming. I mean, I wrote him off 2 years ago, and I learned that the hard way. When you look at his draft price and what he can be, I mean, he's finished in the top five the last two seasons, I believe, or top 10 at least. And you can get him in the middle of the fifth round, and I've even gotten him in the sixth and seventh in some of the mocks that I've done. So in PPR formats, a guy who can offer you top 10 upside at that price is pretty unheard of. When you look at the offense, yeah, I agree. It's not sexy, it's not exciting, but you've got David Johnson coming back. And you got Larry Fitzgerald there, who in the receiving game is pretty much all they've got. So the volume will be there, the targets will be there, and I think he'll return massive investment on that fifth round ADP.
I agree with that pick 100%. This guy is, you know what? Have people keep doubting him.
Right, and then we'll get him.
And when you get him, steal him, and he's going to perform. And like you said, top 10. I don't see that changing this year.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's a guy who, if you go heavy wide receiver in your drafts and he's like your third wide receiver, you could have three wide receiver ones on your roster, which
Sure.
is hard to do. So definitely a guy who I'd love as a wide receiver 2 or 3 for my team.
Wow. Yeah, right there. Boom. So, what is a draft day tip that all of our viewers and listeners can apply to their drafts this season and help them out and maybe win some leagues?
Yeah, I think the thing to think about when you're doing a draft day tip or strategy is kind of knowing the rosters around you and knowing what the construction looks like. Because especially if you're close to the turn, so if you're drafting, early round one or late round one, and then you're subsequently closer to the turn each time, you can have the advantage of seeing guys that are on the board who you might have in the same tier. So let's say you have a guy who you're debating between that you really like, but you also like another player at a different position. You can look at your opponent's rosters and see what do they have on the board. So do they need a running back? Do they need a receiver, a quarterback, whatever it is? And let's say that you think that they might take him before you get back on the clock. That can work as an advantage for sure, because you can say, okay, he doesn't need a quarterback. I like player X and player Y. One of them is a quarterback, so I'll take the receiver because I think I can get my quarterback a few picks later. I think that can offer you a lot of value a few spots later, and lets you build your roster a little bit stronger than if you just said, okay, I need this player, I'll take him here.
That is a great tip. I just played the correct answer sound effect right there for you. I couldn't agree more. I think I used to be a victim to not doing that, and I think it hurt me more than ever. And all these tips we get from our guests, Dad, I think this year I'm more prepared to draft than ever. And just like our listeners, I'm learning too.
Oh, every guest so far has given us a different tip.
And it's great. And I think
It's
anyone
fantastic.
can employ it, and it's just a great. So, Matthew, where can they find your podcast at and your Twitter again, just so in case they didn't listen the first time?
Yeah, absolutely. So you guys can find me on Twitter at the Fantasy PT. And the podcast that I do with a couple of good friends of mine is called the Red Shirts Fantasy Football Podcast. That's pretty much everywhere podcasts are: iTunes, Podbean, Stitcher, you name it. And we are the Red Shirts FF Pod on Twitter.
Right there, give them a follow. They're new, just like us, just starting it this year.
Yep, check them out, guys.
Check them out. All right, so yeah, thank you, Matthew, for coming on.
Yep, thank you for your time, Matthew.
Absolutely, guys. It was a blast. Anytime.